Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Laughter on Call webinar with Dr. Annie Fenn. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you, Dr. Fenn. In advance of our conversation, I'll say thank you. If you don't know about Laughter on Call, we launched in the healthcare space, helping people with Alzheimer's to feel less alone with laughter. That's always been our mission, to use laughter to create connection. And we'll get into more of that in our conversation with Dr. Annie Fenn. So let me tell you a little bit about our guest today and what we're going to be talking about. Dr. Annie Fenn is a physician, chef, and author of the best-selling Substack Brain Health Kitchen and the Brain Health Kitchen: Preventing Alzheimer's Through Food. That's a science-based cookbook and care manual for the brain. Can't wait to hear about this. After 20 years as a board certified OBGYN and certified menopausal health expert, ding, ding, her career pivoted to the culinary arts and Alzheimer's prevention. She founded the Brain Health Kitchen, the only cooking school of its kind focused exclusively on helping people prevent cognitive decline through food and lifestyle. Her approach blends medical knowledge with culinary skills, providing a unique educational experience that emphasizes diet and lifestyle's role in cognitive health. Her mission at Brain Health Kitchen is to empower individuals with the tools to nourish their brains utilizing evidence-based dietary strategies. It's going to be good. Just so you know, Dr. Fenn also hosts brain health retreats in Italy, Mexico, and Costa Rica that are immersive experiences in cultivating brain healthy habits. She's an adjunct faculty member at the University of Cincinnati and Harvard University, where she lectures young adults and medical students about brain health. Fenn lives in Jackson, Wyoming, where she enjoys skiing, cycling, foraging for mushrooms and berries, and exploring the Teton Mountains with her husband and dogs. Welcome, welcome.
Thank
Wow.
you. Thanks for having me on the show. This is fun.
Okay, are you currently in Wyoming?
Yes, I am. I'm in Jackson.
Wow, fantastic. What's the weather like there? Is it
It's
chilly?
blustery, it's snowy, we have some blue sky. It's typical early December weather. It's kind of like living in a snow globe as we get closer to the holidays. And so it's a really
Fun.
pretty time to be here.
Excellent. And I'm curious, is it good for the brain, the cold weather? What do you think?
I don't really know.
I don't know about
People's
that.
brains thrive in all different environments.
Okay. And I definitely want to hear about that, but we have a little bit in common that we
Yes,
didn't know,
yes, we
right?
do.
So tell me the impulse, actually, this is a great segue into this, the impulse you had to make the pivot that I mentioned in your bio.
Yeah, so I was an OBGYN, as you mentioned, for many years, doing all the OBGYN things, delivering babies, doing surgeries, pap smears, wellness visits. The last 10 years of my practice is when I really became interested in brain health. And that's because I was mostly seeing menopausal women. And the women that I was seeing were bothered by hot flashes and sleep disturbances, of course, and all those typical menopausal things, but mostly their cognitive health. They were bothered by memory lapses and just not feeling quite so sharp anymore. So that's when I started to really clue into, how the brain is at menopause and what kind of diet and lifestyle interventions actually help someone get through menopause more easily or not. Fast
Right.
forward a couple years, I decided to retire from medicine because I wanted to pursue another passion, which was cooking and teaching cooking. So I went to culinary school, came back, started teaching healthy cooking classes in my community, centered around brain health. And this
Hmm.
is when my own mom was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And so, of course, I did a deep dive into all of the literature in the scientific community about how do we slow it down? Can nutrition play a part? Can you fend off getting Alzheimer's or another type of dementia in the first place with a healthy diet? And these were all of the questions I was asking, and it's been pretty much what I've been working on for the last 10 years.
Amazing. So yeah, we were in the same journey and took different paths because
Mm.
also my mother was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. I was a comedian and an author and touring, and then thought, oh wow, I wish I could make my mother laugh. So it was that same impulse to really affect. I mean, I don't know that you can, well, I guess you're going to tell us that you can affect the trajectory of Alzheimer's. I didn't know that at the time. I didn't actually know all the science behind laughter either and how it does help the brain. So definitely have questions for you about that. But that same idea born of like a human need, to help our mothers. I
Exactly.
very, very cool.
Exactly. Like any other physician or professional person in the audience will know that, like, in your area of expertise, if something happens in your own family, you do the deepest dive possible to find out, answers to the questions. And so that's basically what I did. And what I found was really, really surprisingly positive about all of the things we can do to take care of our brains, especially to protect them from getting Alzheimer's in the first place.
Well, okay, definitely very interested in that. So, right from the top, what are three foods we can eat if this is something that's relevant, or three ways that we engage with food that are preventative?
Sure. So food is really center to this whole discussion, but it's also good to preface it by saying that it's part of a system of lifestyle interventions. For example, brain healthy eating, I weigh absolutely the same as having a regular exercise program. They both have the same amount of science behind them to show that it can fend off Alzheimer's or other types of dementias. So
Hmm.
that's great. And also the eating, it's more of a system. It's not based on certain foods, it's based on food groups.
Oh.
Okay. So I would love everyone to think not so much superfoods like, oh, I need to get some quinoa or I need to get some goji berries, but more like the food groups that we know are neuroprotective include berries, leafy greens, vegetables, whole grains, nuts and seeds, beans and legumes, fish and seafood, extra virgin olive oil. Those are the top ones.
Wow. So
They're
that's
food
the thing.
groups.
Yeah. Okay. What's
Yeah.
like a bad food group? I know that might be obvious to people, but I'm kind of curious. I don't just mean
Yeah.
like Taco Bell. Forgive me, Taco Bell. But but like are there like, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah, this has been extensively studied. So just as it's equally important to know which food groups to limit or avoid as it is like the brain healthy food groups to consume. Okay. And there's a lot of talk about ultra processed foods, obviously, nowadays, like how they're so bad for us. And what most people probably don't realize is it's really sort of a spectrum. There's different classifications of ultra processed foods. The worst ultra processed foods for your brains are the processed dairy and the processed meats. And I
hmm.
think we pretty much know what those are. Like processed meat would be, of course, bacon and hot dogs and commercial sausage, all that stuff you see on the charcuterie section in the grocery store, right? The salamis, the pre-sliced
Wow.
stuff, the lunch meat. It's beef sticks. It's most of the meat you're going to find in a convenience store or a gas station. Those are all processed meats. And we know that the more processed meat one consumes, the greater the risk of dementia as you get older.
Wow. So like
Yeah.
even beef, 100% grass-fed beef jerky, is that also bad?
No, that's only processed meat. So we
Okay.
didn't know this until about a year ago, Dani, but there's a great study out of the UK called the UK Biobank study. They looked at processed meat versus unprocessed. Before that, all the meats have been lumped together and thought to be mostly bad for the brain, right? But the truth is, unprocessed meat, like a chicken breast you haven't done anything to, or a grass-fed steak that you haven't done anything to yet, right? No processing whatsoever, including these foods in your diet can actually reduce your risk of dementia by a small amount. So they're not all bad. It's okay to consume some meat if that's what you like and that's part of your dietary pattern. It's the processed meats that people really need to recognize.
Right, right. Okay. So we have to eat berries and legumes and no processed food.
Yeah,
I'm
processed food,
wondering.
processed dairy, sugary and sweetened drinks are a big one. We know that there's lots of different pathways that can lead to Alzheimer's. One is insulin resistance, or like that tendency to become pre-diabetic or adult onset diabetic, and that comes from overconsumption of sugar in the absence of fiber. So it hits your bloodstream like, like a Coke. And so what we want to do is make sure that we're not consuming liquid forms of sugar. That's really important. So those are definitely on my foods to limit or avoid list. I also include fast foods, most fried foods. I mean, it doesn't mean you can't ever have a fried food that you love, but we shouldn't be consuming those, every day. Certainly limit it to less than once or twice a month.
Oh
Okay.
my.
I
Okay.
know. I know. That's a big deal for Americans. It's a big
Yeah.
deal.
And
But fried food contains, it doesn't have any nutrients from the actual food, like say take a French fry, which I love, by the way, especially truffle fries. So it's an occasional treat for me. But like, there's really the nutrients in the actual potato aren't really there. The oils used to fry these foods are usually very high in saturated fat, which can raise our cholesterol, which is associated with dementia. So there's all these other things that come with it that just add up to a poor food choice for the brain.
right. So, what do I say, or what do any of us say to the people who are like, really, food, like, prove it? Like, food matter? I don't think so. Like, I don't, there's a lot of, well, there's no cure for it anyway, kind of thinking. And then, well, it's kind of a two-part question because the other observation I made, which I don't know if you had with your mother, is, and my father-in-law, is this desire for sugar. Like
Yeah.
that's kind of what they want. And ice cream, I used to say like ice cream is the tell. If I'm sitting in front of the TV eating ice cream every night, please someone report me because there's such a desire for that.
Yeah. So
So,
I think first it's really good for everyone to crystallize in your thinking two different aspects of what we're talking about. Preventing Alzheimer's and taking care or treating someone with Alzheimer's.
mm,
Okay, these are two completely separate things.
hmm
Okay, the Alzheimer's brain is completely different than the non-Alzheimer's brain. Okay, number one, you're
hmm
right. Someone who has Alzheimer's can no longer process glucose, which is the primary source of fuel for the brain that comes from carbohydrates or sugars. So they're
Huh.
always craving it. My mother was craving sugar like crazy when she started to get into later stages of Alzheimer's.
Wow.
But we're talking about you and I and the audience and anyone else here who does not have dementia right now, is we want to prevent it. Okay.
Mm,
So we don't have a cure for Alzheimer's. We're getting closer, but we don't have a cure. Okay.
mm,
It's very
mm,
complex. But what I can say for sure now is that prevention is the best cure we have. And there is a ton of data about what we eat, our lifestyle habits, combining lifestyle habits, nutrition, exercise, sleep, stress mitigation, social connections, all of these
mm,
things combined can reduce the risk of getting dementia by 45% by the most conservative data and up to 60 to 80% by the wide body of data.
mm. So tell me then, what's like a healthy day in the life of someone who wants to prevent or stave off, shall we say?
Yeah, a healthy daily life. Oh my gosh, I love this question. So, hopefully you would wake up well rested. We know that sleep is important for cleaning out the toxins that build up in the brain at night. Okay, some of these toxins are actually the sticky proteins that end up developing pathology for Alzheimer's disease. Okay,
Hmm
so while we sleep, we have this system in our brain called the glymphatic system. It's like the brain's own garbage disposal that filters these things out. But here's the thing, if you don't get enough sleep, you don't get enough deep and REM sleep, then your lymphatic system does not kick in. So you don't get that benefit and you wake up groggy with brain fog. Okay. And
So
these
how
sticky
many
proteins.
hours? How many
Well, for
hours?
most people, it's somewhere between, 7 and 9. Everyone's a little bit different. But prioritizing what time you go to bed and trying to get up at the same time every day is really the best place to start with sleep. So hopefully you'd wake up well rested, right? You would go
Hmm
outside and get some sunlight, which is really good for your circadian clock, which keeps you on track for going to bed early later that night. You'd want to start the day with a really brain healthy habit, which would be drinking coffee or tea. Yes, we
Yay!
have tons of data showing that drinking coffee and drinking tea, especially certain types of tea, can reduce the risk of dementia by as much as 40 to 60%.
Amazing. But I did read in your Substack that you shouldn't necessarily put anything in the coffee. Like
Yeah.
black coffee is better.
The devil's always in the details. And this was a big question mark until the end of last year. There was a big study that came out and they looked at all of these factors. So, what if you put cream in your coffee? What if you put artificial sweeteners in your coffee? What about sugar? What if it's a latte? All of these things. And what they found was that drinking coffee is a brain healthy habit that prevents dementia if it's black, unsweetened, and caffeinated. We didn't know until recently that caffeine was actually a really important part of its dementia prevention properties. Which doesn't mean that, if you like decaf, that's fine. Just drink decaf. Not everyone can tolerate caffeine. But caffeinated coffee is part of the reason that coffee is good for the brain.
Wow.
Yeah, it's true. So enjoy your coffee. But, the problem that I see, especially in the United States, is a lot of people take their coffee, their pristine cup of coffee full of polyphenols and caffeine and all these good things, and they turn it into an ultra-processed food by adding junky ingredients, lots of sugar, artificial sweeteners, which are just as bad as sugar, what we are finding. And so it kind of negates all the health benefits from it.
What about coconut sugar? I've gotten interested in coconut sugar. That's from a
Coconut sugar
coconut.
is sugar. There's a saying like in nutrition, sugar is sugar is sugar is sugar. Um,
Oh!
Coconut sugar has a little bit more a different glycemic index. I use it also in my baking because I can get away with less of it. Like for the same batch of chocolate chip cookies, I could use less than white sugar,
Okay.
but it's still sugar.
Okay, all right. Okay, so I've had my good night's sleep. I've had some sunlight, little rough in some parts of the country and parts of the world, but is there a sunlight lamp I can get?
Yeah, you sure can get one of those. I don't really have any that I can recommend because I don't use that. I just go outside, and even if it's cloudy, you get plenty of the sunlight that you need.
Okay, great. So I get the sunlight. Then I have my coffee that is just straight up caffeine.
Hmm.
That's already depressed me, but not really because I get the jolt from the caffeine. That's good. Okay, now what do I do?
You want to start the day with a really good brain healthy breakfast. Okay. And this could be anything that you like from those brain healthy food groups that I mentioned. It could be eggs. Eggs have tons of brain health nutrients in them. Eggs are a little bit controversial, but not really. I mean, the brain health data on eggs is very, very good. There's just a small percentage of people that it might raise their cholesterol, so they need to be
Right.
careful or aware of that. So for 85% of the population, eggs do not raise blood cholesterol. And so it's a good source of protein and choline and lutein, which are really important brain health nutrients. So if you like eggs, go for it. But I wouldn't cook eggs with bacon and toast and butter. That's old school. That's like old thinking. New thinking for your brain is take several handfuls of spinach or whatever green that you like that you have in the fridge, saute it in that extra virgin olive oil that is a brain healthy food group. Okay. Poach your eggs right in the greens. Have some whole grain toast with it. Whole grains are really good for you. So find like the best bread you can find that has these whole grains in them. Drizzle more olive oil over the bread. There's very little butter in a brain healthy diet. There's very little cheese because they're both very high in saturated fat. Yeah, and so make yourself a brain healthy breakfast.
Okay, what's a grain bread? Like what? Like Ezekiel, that's a grain bread?
Ezekiel's really good. I buy that, and it's nice because it keeps in the freezer section.
Right.
You just want to make sure that in the ingredient list, whole wheat or some other whole grain is the first ingredient.
First ingredient. Okay.
Yeah,
So that's not
yeah.
a big public scam. That actually is good. That's
No,
real.
that is good, but a lot of whole
Okay.
grain breads have a lot of sugar in them as well and make them taste better. Another tip is that there's like the Whole Grain Council stamp of approval, and you can look for that.
The whole grain council. Okay,
Yes.
I'll have
I
to,
think it's like I think it's like a little badge with a grain on it. You probably
yeah.
never noticed it, but if you start looking at your bread, you'll see it.
I'm just envisioning what their board meetings are like.
And then also, bread that's not generally whole grain or has enough fiber, whatever, all those good ingredients, it tends to last a long time on the counter. Yeah.
Right,
So the type of bread that you have to put in the freezer or it goes stale within a day or two, that's the kind of bread you want.
okay. Now, what about, I've heard a lot of good things about sourdough, though. That's
Oh yeah,
sourdough.
yeah, sourdough's great.
Oh,
Sourdough is a type of bread that's long fermented. Because it's fermented for a long time, it may have some other beneficial properties in it, like probiotic bacteria.
okay.
Fermented food is definitely one of the foods that we are finding is good for the brain.
Okay. Great. That's like
Yeah.
sauerkraut.
Sauerkraut, kimchi, miso paste, kombucha, if it's not too high in sugar. All of these are fermented foods. And the reason they're good for the brain is because they're good for our guts. And the more we learn
Mhm.
about brain health, the more we know that it's the gut microbiota in our guts that are sort of driving the ship here. If our gut's healthy, our brain is healthy.
Okay. All right. I hope everyone's taking notes, but we're recording it, so don't worry. You'll be able to rewind and hear it. Okay. Okay, so I've done all these things. Now I've had my brain healthy breakfast. Now what am I doing?
Well, depending on your schedule, whether you're a morning exerciser or a later in the day exerciser, I would say go get some exercise. Go for a brisk walk if you have to get to work or have other things to do, or go to the gym and get some strength training or resistance training in. Ride a bike, do something that's really enjoyable. And bonus points if you do it with friends. You get even added benefit because you get that other aspect of brain health, which is social connection. When you exercise with friends, it's like a double dose.
Yes, so that's so much of about laughter on call that we discovered, right? Is that it's about, we call it laughter on call because we couldn't call it like friendship on call or, cognitive engagement on call. But
Yeah.
really that's so much of what the laughter is about is that social connection. So,
Mhm.
I'm listening to you and I'm thinking, do you get up at 5 or 4? Like what?
No. No, I don't. I get up at like, the normal time, I guess, 6:30. I do prioritize starting off the day with a little bit of light, a really good cup of coffee. I don't eat my breakfast till later in the day. I'm one of those people that would
Oh.
go walk my dog first, and then I would come back and eat something before I dive into my work.
Oh, okay. But you have
So
the coffee before the dog?
yeah, but the order that you do things is not so crucial.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely coffee first, then dog.
I'm clearly being very compulsive about this. Okay. So then you get into your workday. Now, one of the things that is very interesting to me is that there's all this information about stress being bad for Alzheimer's. I don't know how, as a working woman, mother person, we avoid stress. Like how does that work?
We can avoid stress, and some of the stress is actually good, but everyone needs to have their own personal stress mitigation plan. Like, how do you deal with stress? Because stress is a given. Stress happens all day long, every day in modern life. I don't know anyone who doesn't have stress. So, what matters is how you react to it and how you identify the stressors that are not good for your health, good for your brain, good for your mental fitness. Yeah,
Hmm.
so it's a tough one. It's a very personal one. Starting the day with sunlight, Lord knows my cup of coffee makes me happy. My walk, my dog, all of these things make me super happy, and that's a great stress-free way to start my day. Another thing that is important if you work at a desk like I do, a lot of the time I'm researching and writing articles for my Substack or for my college courses or for all the projects I'm doing, but I can't sit at my desk for 3 hours straight. That's really bad for your cardiovascular health and your brain health. So every hour, I have to get up, go for a walk, run around the house, take Livy outside, like do something to move around. And they've actually studied this. 5 minutes of every hour of your workday, you should be up and walking around or going for a quick walk or just doing something active.
Okay.
That's an
So
important way to break up the stress.
Okay. So just so I'm reiterating, so stress is everybody. See, whenever I hear kind of like the end of Alzheimer's, I'm sure you know that book, and it's like, really, who could live that way? I don't mean to offend anyone, but
Nor is it evidence based either, right?
oh,
There's
okay.
there's not a clinical trial that shows that that program successfully reverses Alzheimer's. There's a
Right,
lot of
right.
misconception about that.
Okay, yes.
We sadly don't know how to reverse Alzheimer's, like
Right.
like the kind my mom had and the kind your mom
Yeah.
suffers from,
I'm,
right?
right.
But we
That's
know
why.
how to prevent it. We know how to prevent it.
Okay.
That we know.
But okay. But if you're predisposed to it, you can't is you still feel you can there's evidence that you can prevent it.
Oh yeah, a lot of the studies that we have are done in people that carry a gene like ApoE4. a risk gene for Alzheimer's. So, if your audience is not familiar with this, it's a very, very common gene that is carried by 25% of Americans. If you carry
Okay.
one copy, your risk of getting Alzheimer's later in life is about 3 to 5 fold increased. If you carry two copies, it's more than that. It's like 10 to 15-fold more, which sounds horrible, right? But what we've
Mm.
learned so much about reducing Alzheimer's is in the population of people that have these genes, is that these genes are pliable, they're bendable, they're like Play-Doh. The things you do can turn them off or turn them way, way down. So so exercise, stress reduction, brain healthy diet, good sleep, all of these things are part of a system that turns those genes off. And you can delay or basically kick the can of Alzheimer's as far down as possible. We don't know how to prevent it 100% entirely, of course. But if you get Alzheimer's when you're 105 versus when you're 75, that's the difference. That's
Okay.
where brain span comes in. Like, our lifespan is how long we live, but our
Mhm.
brain span is how long our brains are active and thriving. So we want our brain span to match our lifespan. We don't want to
Yeah.
have that 25-year gap where, the brain span is gone, the brain span is over. And
Yes.
that's what these, easy interventions really can do for us.
Yeah, I'm loving it because you haven't said word game once.
Word
I
games, no, I mean it's like it's important to be cognitively healthy, and by that I mean cognitively challenged, like doing hard things with your mind. But that's different for everybody. There's something called cognitive reserve, very well studied. Cognitive reserve means it's like your intellectual capital. It's all the things that you've learned in your life. It's the music you know how to play. It's the languages you've learned. It's the jokes that you can remember. It's all of this stuff, right? It's like
hmm
money in the bank. It's your
hmm
intellect. And so the way to build that is by always learning new things, traveling to a new place, trying to learn a new language, making a new friend where you have to ask interesting, inquisitive questions of them and then listen. All of these things, reading something that's kind of difficult, like an article about science, if that's not what you're into. All of these things build cognitive reserve. And what it's
hmm
like is it's like paving neural pathways in your brain so that if your brain starts to fail as you get older, you've got all of these collateral pathways to serve you.
Oh, that's interesting. Can you say that again? That's very interesting.
It's like paving neural pathways in your brain so that if your brain starts to fail later, which most people's brains will fail a little bit, you have these collateral pathways. So a lot of what we know about cognitive reserve was done based on the study of nuns. There's a nun study in
hmm
the Midwest several decades ago. And what they found after these nuns had donated their brains to science after they passed, that some of the nuns had brains that were riddled with amyloid and tau and all the pathological
hmm
signs of Alzheimer's, yet they
Right.
had no symptoms at all.
hmm
And these were the nuns that worked later in life, that stayed cognitively active. A lot of them were still teaching, reading. They had a high word density in their letters and a lot of idea density. So they were staying really sharp and using their brains till the very end. So we know that pathology is in everything.
Right. Right. This is a lot to take in. Do you ever feel, I mean, I think obviously you're doing so much for prevention, but having had a mother who passed from Alzheimer's, that like if I forget my keys, I'm like, well, it's over. Throw it in, throw in the towel.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I think we all, those of us who are daughters and sons of people who have suffered, and we suffered right along with them and lost them multiple ways over many years, we're all very sensitized to the fact that memory lapses could be important. But the truth is, everyone loses their keys. I misplaced my AirPods case this morning. I can't find it anywhere. I mean, these things just kind of happen, right? It doesn't really mean that you're getting Alzheimer's at all. Um, everyone has these lapses, and it's usually just part of daily life. It's part of being too busy. It's part of not paying attention. It's
yes,
multitasking. When you're
yes.
multitasking, you're more likely to misplace your phone or your other things. So,
Or your car, in my case. You never know where
or
the car
your car. You misplaced your car.
No, I'm not like permanently, but if I'm on the phone and parking my car and thinking about what I need to buy, I will come out of the store. I don't know where my
Oh
car is.
yeah, easy. Me too. Me
Yeah.
too. This has nothing to do with Alzheimer's. Has to do with paying attention. Yeah,
Okay.
but those
All
of us
right.
who are daughters of Alzheimer's, we're a little sensitized to this.
Yeah.
And that's okay. It's okay if it turns into a quest to learn more about what you can
Yes.
do to take care of your brain. It's okay.
Yes. So along those lines, I know that you said at the top that you worked with women in menopause prior to this iteration of your life. And it was actually my husband who read an article, I think in the New Yorker or whatever, saying about estradiol and estrogen replacement for brain health. So just because of your background, I wonder if you could talk a little bit about that too.
Oh, sure. So, there's a lot more study on hormone replacement therapy like estrogen than there was back when I was a menopause practitioner. But thankfully, that we're having more studies, not as much as we would like. But what we're finding is that estradiol is neuroprotective. And I'm talking about the estradiol that your body makes.
Hmm.
So, the estradiol that you start making at puberty and it skyrockets during pregnancy, that goes up and down during premenopause and then takes a slow decline. The more years a woman has been exposed to the estradiol that her body makes, the lower her risk of dementia.
Hmm.
The more estradiol you've been exposed to, the lower your risk of dementia.
Hmm.
Talking about
Okay.
your natural estrogen, not something that you take. But when you also factor in the estrogens that we take, like birth control pills, right, or hormone
Mhm.
therapy, it depends on the formula and
Oh,
depends
wow.
on sort of the age and population, all these other details. But
Hmm.
we do think that estrogen taken during perimenopause or shortly after menopause or very early in that transition um, can help protect the brain. We do
Hmm.
think that. It's just that the studies are a little muddy right now, and
Hmm.
some formulas are showing benefit and others not so much.
Hmm. Wow. So how is there a place you can direct people to that has more accurate studies or more current studies than others?
Yeah, I've written a lot of articles about this on my Substack, and I do research roundups. So there's several every year about what we know about, say, hormone therapy at menopause and the risk of dementia. So I'm constantly updating the knowledge on my Substack. There's also a very good book by Dr. Lisa Mosconi called The Menopause Brain, and I highly recommend it.
Okay, I'm putting that in
And,
the chat.
and that talks about, and Lisa is one of the neuroscientists who is studying, female brains more than anyone else. I'm actually a research participant in one of her studies. But I've known her for years and years, and she writes about like how menopause, we used to think it was just a reproductive transition phase, right?
Right.
You're transitioning from being able to get pregnant to not being able to get pregnant,
Right,
periods to
right.
no periods. What we're finding is actually a neuroendocrine transition phase, meaning the brain is changing during menopause. The brain at the
Okay.
end of menopause is not the same as it was before you entered menopause. Some of these things are good and prevent and pose challenges. Like some women are more risk for Alzheimer's during this stage, and some of these things are very positive.
Hmm.
So the menopause brain is a very easy read, very interesting for anyone who's interested.
Okay. I hopefully wrote Masconi, Masconi.
Mosconi. And I'll send you the links to the articles I've written.
Oh, yes. And of course, there's the Substack, everyone. Please go to Dr. Annie Fenn's. Is it the Brain Health Kitchen Substack?
It's
Brain Health Kitchen.
brainhealthkitchen.substack.com.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, I would love to have you over there. So come say hi and say that we met on Laugh on Call. Would love
Laughter on call,
laughter on
laughter on
call.
call. Yes. Fantastic, fantastic. So now tell me about what makes you laugh, just because it is laughter on call.
What makes me laugh? People make me laugh. Oh my gosh. I travel around speaking. I take small groups to Italy. People make me laugh. Everyone is different when it comes to their attitude towards their brain health. And some people have sort of this proactive, I can do anything, I'm not going to get this disease sort of attitude, which I love. And studies have shown that that's actually beneficial. Other people tend to feel like, well, my mom had Alzheimer's, so I'm going to get it. And
Mm,
it's not funny, but the thing that I love is challenging these people. And by the end of the retreat, having them become that proactive person because it's just a matter of education. There's so many things that we can do. And just because you have a parent with Alzheimer's does not mean you're going to get it. Most people don't realize that less than 5% of Alzheimer's is genetic.
wow. Yeah. I don't think people know that.
Yeah. I mean, there's the type of Alzheimer's that people get early in life, like in that movie Still Alice. Remember
Right.
Julianne Moore,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
college professor? She got it. She was like 50 years old. That's a different type of genetic disease. That's less than 1% of all Alzheimer's cases.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So people think of Alzheimer's, they think of Julianne Moore in Still Alice, right?
Yeah,
But it's not true. Most of us have way more control than we think.
that is such good news. Can you talk a little bit about alcohol?
Oh, yeah, we should talk about alcohol. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you a funny story. I don't know if you can see this, but I have a brain food pyramid in my book. Can you see that?
Okay, yes.
Yeah, I can send it to your listeners afterwards if you want. So I was putting together this brain food pyramid, which is basically based on all of the research to date when my book was coming out just a couple years ago. And I had included red wine because it was part of the Mediterranean diet studies. It was part of the Mind Diet study, which is a spin-off of the Mediterranean, shown to reduce dementia risk by 53%, right? All of these included like very small amounts of red wine. Right as my manuscript was going to print, a big study came out, and it was 36,000 MRIs looking at the impact of alcohol on the brain over time. And this is like the definitive study to say that no, a little bit of red wine is not good. We
Wow.
used to think it was. It was part of my brain health pyramid just 2 years ago. Now we know that no amount of alcohol is beneficial for the brain.
Mm,
So I had to call up my editor, my publisher last minute and say, I need to rewrite the drinks chapter. I need to put the red wine or the alcohol in the limit or avoid box. Okay.
wow.
Which is what we did. So it doesn't mean you can't drink any alcohol at all. It's just that for years, doctors have been saying that it's probably okay, that a moderate amount of drinking might be good for your heart and good for your brain. We
Yeah.
know that's no longer true. We know that's no longer true.
And I think that's very recent, right? That
Yeah, that
adjustment.
study came out in 2020, 22.
Okay. Well, that
Yeah.
was.
Yeah. I mean, my book came out in early 2023, and this came out at the end of that year.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
right down to the wire.
Because
Which
I
doesn't mean
remember.
if you enjoy drinking alcohol, I just would be very, very conscientious about what you consume, how you consume it, who you consume it with, your total intake. I think that, the number of drinks per week that they found in that study that actually led to more brain shrinkage over time was four drinks a
Mhm.
week. And we used to
Mhm.
say that one drink for women a day, two drinks for men, 2 drinks a day for men was moderate. So that's just been shifted down to, up to 4 drinks a week. They didn't show any change in brain volume over time. Okay. Brain
Mhm.
volume being a marker for getting dementia. So if you like to drink, I would just, choose things that you really love, do small amounts, do it with people you love, do it with laughter, really enjoy it. Try not to have multiple drinks in one setting and try not to drink every day.
Yes. Well, I'm really glad that you said that. Although I have a little bit of resentment that even back in the day, men got twice the amount of drinks that women get. What?
Same. I
What?
know, I know, I know. And when I
Oh,
take when I take people to Italy on brain health retreats,
oh.
what we drink in Italy is just stays in Italy. It's so different there because the wine is lower in alcohol. Having very small amounts and only with food. So it's sort of a nice example of how to consume wine, in the context of a healthy diet.
Interesting. And do they have statistically lower rates of Alzheimer's in Italy? I don't know the answer to that. And it's okay if
They
you don't.
have traditionally, but with their aging population, their Alzheimer's rates are going up just like ours.
Okay. All right. Well, by the way, anybody ask questions, put your questions in the chat. We'd be happy to answer them. And what I really would love to know about is the Brain Health Kitchen School that you started.
So when I first retired from medicine and I had my big idea, right? People need to eat better. I'm going to teach them how to cook. And I'm gonna go to culinary school and come back as a chef in my community and teach people how to cook. I launched Brain Health Kitchen as a cooking school, and that's what I did. It started in my home kitchen. I would have people over, and we would just cook from these brain healthy food groups. That data was already published back in 2015. The berries, the leafy greens, the vegetables, the grains, the legumes, all that stuff, the olive oil. So we're cooking from these studies. Um, and then during COVID, I had a physical cooking school. And then after that, I stopped teaching in facilities and in my home. So now I just take it on the road. I travel all over the country, all over the world, and often I'm giving cooking classes there. And I also give cooking classes online through my Substack, and it's 4 times a year. And we just had one. It's so much fun. It's so much fun. People zoom in from all over the world. I send out recipes ahead of time. We talk about a brain health topic, and then we all cook together on Zoom. It is really, really fun.
That sounds fun. And I am equally surprised or have been over these last 5 years how effective a Zoom experience can be.
It can
Like
be. Yeah.
definitely prior to that, I was like, what? I can't even get on Skype. What is going on? But now, like, we have found even with laughter, you can get, and it has the same effect, not completely the same effect, but you can be laughing with people and feel a sense of community even in a virtual room. So I think,
Yeah, and these classes are all about community. It's not so much about the recipe we're making or the topic we're discussing, although those things are important. It's really about community and seeing the same faces. And for me to see faces of names I see on my subscriber list, it really does feel like a community. Because I feel like Brain Health Kitchen is not really just a cooking school, it's a community of people who are aging with intention, who are aging proactively. It's now people of all ages. It's not just people of a certain age who have parents with Alzheimer's. It's young adults who've had traumatic brain injuries or concussions.
oh, wow.
It's people of all walks of life. So it's really grown to this community of people that are just proactive about their brains or want to learn more, curious and proactive. And so it's a total joy. It's a total joy.
I love that. And so when's your next one?
The next one will be in March.
March, that's not that far away. Okay, and
Yeah,
that'll
it's
be in
one
your
once a
subset.
season, once a season. Yeah, that's all I can swing with my travel schedule because I have to actually be home to do the class. Although I did one from Sardinia last year, and that was great fun.
Wow, amazing. Okay, we do have a question. Is there still a concern about aluminum or metal coming into contact with our food? Wondering if that's still a relevant issue.
Not really. Aluminum was first found in like the brains of people who suffered from Alzheimer's like decades ago. But the truth is, the Alzheimer's brain cells will accumulate heavy metals preferentially over other things. So it wasn't really the aluminum. Aluminum's been exonerated. I don't use aluminum foil that much in my kitchen, but it's not because of the aluminum. It's just because I'm trying to use, other things that are, more recyclable. So no, I don't think you need to worry about aluminum, but you do need to worry about the types of things that could scrape off a Teflon pan. There are environmental toxins that are becoming increasingly linked to not just Alzheimer's, but Parkinson's. Teflon is a classic one, but also there are, components in cookware or plastics in the kitchen that are increasingly being linked to increasing the inflammation in the brain. So, trying to go plastic free in the kitchen is a really good goal for the next year. And taking a hard look at your cookware and making sure it's toxin free. I like cast iron. I like ceramic coated cast iron.
Mm.
Very, very simple types of cookware. And there's lots of them on the market now.
So all that Tupperware, that's not good. Is that all plastic?
Yeah, you want to get rid of pretty much all the plastic in your kitchen that touches food. Yeah, and it's
Okay.
tough. It takes a long time. Don't get me wrong, like getting rid of all the plastic baggies. But I tell you, silicone is okay. So I don't have any
Okay.
plastic utensils anymore, but silicone ones are okay. Silicone baking mats.
Oh, right.
There's bags called stashers that are silicone, and those are preferable to plastic bags. You definitely don't want to put anything in the microwave in a plastic container, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is
It's a
the question.
process. Do your best. Do your
Your
best. All I
best.
can say.
Get rid of all plastic or just the ones that contain BPA.
Yeah, BPA-free plastic is better. Yeah,
Okay.
for example, high quality blenders like a Vitamix, I use a lot. That's a high quality plastic blender.
Oh, okay.
It's BPA free, but I don't put it in the dishwasher. I hand wash it.
Okay. Okay. Wow. This is a whole thing. Okay. So just because I tend to be in the sugar camp, I have this whole theory about people. There's like the savory cheese people, and then there's the sugar people. and I'm a sugar person. So since I can't have sugar, I shouldn't have sugar. What fun things can I have?
Well, you can have sugar. I mean,
Yeah.
I eat sugar, but the rule is you don't want it to hit your bloodstream, like a Coke. You don't want it to be this rush of sugar that goes into your bloodstream like on an empty stomach. Okay. So, like when I have a lot of recipes that I create for baked goods, like cookies and cakes and pies and bars, right?
Okay.
Puddings, they all have some sort of sugar in it. I try to use a natural form of sugar, like dates, which contains fiber, maple
Mm.
syrup, which has other things in it that are good for you, like selenium and potassium, honey sometimes. Don't get me wrong, they all break down into sugar, but when you consume sugar with fiber, it slows how it gets absorbed into your bloodstream. So a fiber-rich cookie, like a cookie that I make, a chocolate chip cookie that I make with oats and whole grain flour and almond flour with nuts and things like that in it, the sugar in it is not going to have the same effect on you as a traditional chocolate chip cookie.
Oh, okay.
So you
All
can
right.
have your sugar, you just have to deliver it very carefully. It's also really important to know your numbers when it comes to this. As people get older, especially women, there's this tendency to become more pre-diabetic, which means your fasting blood sugar starts to go up. You know, that blood test your doctor tests pretty much every year. The hemoglobin A1C level starts to creep up. So if you're starting to see these trends towards prediabetes, then that's a lesson that you need to like be really conscientious. Things you might think were good for you, like orange juice, may not be a good idea.
I
Okay.
was just going to ask you about juice and
Yeah.
smoothies and all that.
Yeah. I mean, juice, unfortunately, there's a lot of antioxidants in juice from the fruit or the vegetables, but there's no fiber. And so, you get all that glucose in a rush. So it's like modifying your diet as you are paying really attention to your own personal biomarkers and the trends. But you can
Okay.
have a cookie. You can have more than one cookie. It's just that you have to kind of keep these things in mind as you get older because you want to have really good metabolic health, especially at midlife, because that sets the stage for a healthy brain later.
Right. And we can affect our metabolic life is what you're saying.
Absolutely. Your metabolic health just means that your blood sugar is stable. You're not gaining too much fat inside your abdominal cavity. Like there's this thing called visceral fat that we find is more dangerous to the brain than regular fat. So you know how sometimes as women go through menopause, their body composition changes a little bit. Yeah, so it's a matter of pushing back against that. That's where exercise comes in. Exercise and doing some sort of strength training is the way to combat that. Plus, just, reading labels and, not putting that sugar in your coffee, making sure that there's not hidden sugars in the foods that you like to eat on a regular basis. All these things are important. But you can still enjoy your food. You can still have treats. Um, you can still have a glass of wine. I'm not saying that you can't, but it's good to have a lot of awareness about these things.
Yes. I think that's kind of the big takeaway
Yeah.
among in addition to grains and berries is like the self-awareness, like
Self-awareness.
what you're
And if the
starting.
dietary piece seems really, I don't know, overwhelming, if it's the first time you heard about it, just eat more berries and eat more leafy greens. Those are the two brain health food groups that are the most bang for your buck.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All
So get
right.
some berries in the freezer. If it's winter where you are, frozen berries are just as good as fresh. I like them to be organic. So, the pesticide residue has a detrimental impact on your brain. But definitely try to eat, at least two servings of berries a week. But every day is better.
Okay, now you just brought up one final point I'd love to ask about the organic, the mystique of the organic. Because I read somewhere that if it has a skin, it's not, you don't have to worry as much about the organic nature of what you're eating. But I
Yeah,
can,
so this my thinking on organic foods has really changed. So the old thinking is, there's the dirty dozen and the clean 15. You just choose, your grocery shopping according to what could be most contaminated.
I'm sorry,
Um,
I don't know the dirty
Oh,
dozen.
oh, oh. So
Yeah.
there's this website called Environmental Working Group. And every year they come out with the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15. Okay. So like the Dirty Dozen are the foods that are most likely to have pesticide residue on them. Things like strawberries and peppers and spinach in a box, like things like that. right?
Okay.
So a lot of people will, get these lists and they'll buy organic from the Dirty Dozen, but
Right.
not worry about it from the Clean 15. But now we have data that show that even organic produce has a significant amount of pesticide residue on it.
That's
Yeah.
terrible.
It's terrible. Um,
Why are we
and
paying so much for it then?
Exactly,
Ah,
exactly. So I think all produce needs to be washed really well. Okay, you can scrub that stuff off, I mean, to some point if you're diligent. But I choose organic more than not now because there's all this new information that we're learning about Parkinson's.
oh,
And we
okay.
don't have great data to show that these pesticides will increase your risk of Alzheimer's, but we know they're an important part of developing Parkinson's disease.
Wow. All right.
So I like to say, buy as much organic food as you can. It's obviously more important if you can't afford organic food just to eat the fruits and vegetables and strive for these foods and wash them as best you can. We all are exposed to environmental toxins in everyday life. There's no way to bring that down to zero, but just doing your best. And organic produce is really important, really important. Yeah.
Oh, here's a good question. Is baking soda in water the best way to wash fruits and veggies?
Yeah, that's a good way. I mean, some people also use a mild vinegar solution. Yeah, I don't use baking soda in water. I just use a tiny bit of dish soap in water. Yeah, and I'll take my zucchini and I'll have a bowl with this very, very, very like a tiniest drop in a quart of water. And I use a brush and I clean my produce that way.
Wow.
Yeah, which is easier. I don't have to buy something special. I don't have to create a whole other thing that I have to do every day. So for
Right.
me that works. But baking soda is fine.
And you have a special brush, one of those round brushes with the bristles, or
It's not a special brush. It's just a typical natural fiber brush you would use to wash dishes. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
dishwater.
I'm a,
Dishwater. I don't think I would have thought of that. That's really interesting. Okay.
yeah.
All right. Well, any last bits of wisdom? We know about a day in the life. We know about healthy eating, nuts, grains, berries, and sleep. Sleep, 8 hours or so, uninterrupted sleep. Very, very
Well,
good.
that can be hard to achieve,
It really
I
can
don't
be.
know. I don't know many people who sleep 8 hours solid, but if you're waking up well rested and you're hitting, 7 hours most nights, even if you wake up in the middle of the night, if you're able to get back to sleep, these are all good things. So it's good, best not to stress too much about your sleep. But if your sleep really is suffering, it's really important to get a sleep study and see a sleep doctor
Ooh,
and get that figured out. Because there is something
wow.
called sleep apnea that
Yeah.
starves the brain of oxygen at night. And if you had that, you would want to know.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
can treat
yeah.
it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And get up every hour for 5 minutes.
Yeah, try not to sit too long. We all know that sitting is the new smoking, right? If you can work at a standing desk, that's amazing. If you have a treadmill that you can hop on in your office, that's amazing. If you can just mix it up, move from room to room if you work from home, these are all really good things for your brain health.
Yeah, I think we really need to be in your Substack because I love when experts say things like, well, we all know sitting is the new sleeping. It's like, what? We do? Wait, we know that? We all know that?
I know it's a little overwhelming. That's why I write a little bit every week so that every week it's like, okay, I got a new thing. Okay, I learned this. Another important thing that, it is a lot, but it's really also really simple, right? It's like mostly a whole food diet, like non-processed junky foods, right? A little bit more cooking at home because you have more control over the food and it's going to be better for you. It's taking care of your health. It's like getting those health screenings. They're incredibly important. Knowing if your blood sugar is going up, knowing if your cholesterol is going up, like staying on top of your numbers is very, very important. So preventive medicine is a part of it. So don't skip those checkups, especially you caregivers out there. I mean, I know it's
Oh,
hard to get to a doctor's appointment. It's sometimes feels impossible, but it's important to do that. So it's more just having awareness, learning, laughing with friends,
yes. I was
getting
just
good
gonna say,
rest, making sure you get exercise, all these little things that just, add up to a fun life, a vital life.
yeah. I mean, I was interested. You did mention laughter several times throughout this conversation, and even who you mentioned, like who you drink with. Like I think that's really like, that's telling. But this whole idea of the social aspect and joyful connection, and of course we all know about laughter and endorphins and serotonin levels and all, like the specific value of laughter. So I think laughter should be woven into the Brain Health Kitchen. But no doubt that happens when you're all learning a new cooking technique and somebody makes a mistake, and like
Yes.
to have humor about that. I
And I
think.
tell you, I've learned so much about laughter when I go to the Blue Zones in Sardinia. And Dani, you would love, love, love to see this. I wish you could see this. I don't know if you've been, but
No.
when we go to the Blue Zones, we go to these tiny towns in the mountains, the places that have the most men over the age of 100 in the world. And you know
Right.
what they do between 5 and 6 every night? By hook or crook, they all go down to the town bar. They have like this much wine. They have like a juice glass of wine. They swap stories. They laugh. They laugh so loud you can hear it all over the town. And
Wow.
yeah, Sardinians spend on average 5 hours a day socializing.
Huh.
And it's thought to be one of their ingredients for longevity. And you see this in other blue zones as well. So I love taking people there just so they can, it's hard to describe, right? It's almost like you have to witness it.
Yeah.
And after multiple trips there, it's become part of what I think is important about taking care of your brain is
Yeah.
having some
Well,
sort of system where you have people like that you can actually really laugh with. And yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. I think it's
well,
really one of their secrets.
yes, it's interesting timing because apparently it is Dick Van Dyke's 100th birthday
Yes,
today.
love him. Today?
I believe
Oh,
that's what
I
I
didn't know
read.
that.
And Mel Brooks is doing all these tributes to him because Mel Brooks is 99, and they've had lunch together every month for, Lord knows how many years. And I
Wow.
do think it's interesting that a lot of these comedy guys just live and live and live.
Yeah.
Carl Reiner, like they all lived really long lives, and there must be some connection to that. So interesting.
Well, as you know, it's also very intellectually challenging to come up with jokes, right? Like,
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, I think comedians
yeah,
are
it's a puzzle.
the smartest people,
Yeah,
right? Because it's cognitive, like talk about building your cognitive reserve.
yes,
You know, when you're trying to like work a routine or come up with even just a simple joke, it's got to be so difficult and so good for your brain.
yes, it's a puzzle,
It's a
definitely.
puzzle.
And it's
Exactly.
social because you only know that it works with people.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
writing jokes in your room, not as doesn't give you the thrill of connecting with other people. So.
Yeah, I love that. It makes sense. It makes total sense. So I love hearing that.
All right. Well, this has just been fantastic. What a pleasure. What a treat
Thanks
to
for
meet you.
having me.
Yeah, yeah.
Really
And thanks
appreciate it.
everyone for showing up. Next year we'll be back with another fantastic expert on creating connection either through food or team building or some other new way. I think the next subject I want to hit on is AI, which would be very different. The positive use of AI. That's my search. But it's been a pleasure. Reach Annie at the Brain Health Kitchen. We've put all of the links in the chat. And of course, we're Laughter on Call for all your laughter needs. And I hope that our paths cross IRL, as they say, Annie.
Me
Thank you so much.
too. Me too. Thank you so much. And thanks everyone for joining us.